They may feel a little bit tight, but they usually will work without damage in most cases. But as you can see from the images I'm just getting ready to send you, I've got another sentence or two to type. But I found some images, both of the male and the female connectors, and you'll see they look quite a bit different. The big difference is the male ones have plastic dielectric, normally white, in the male and female connector. You look inside a 75 ohm BNC connector, there's nothing, there's air around the center pin. It'll be really obvious when you see my pictures. I was just at a customer this last week who needed to make some measurements on a 75 ohm system. And so I just ordered all the things to do this. So I've been through this. This is amazing. I've been through the 75 ohm deal on end connectors in excruciating detail over the last week. Both training the customer and then ordering some things because I didn't have them to do a demo. So this question came up, Tom, right after I had done in-depth research on the companies that make the cables, the companies that make the adapters, how expensive they are, what the delivery time is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Gotta go. See you guys later in 5BB.
Hey, Bill, would you send a copy of that to me, please? wt9v.tx@gmail.com.
T9 Whiskey Tango 9 Victor .tx@gmail.com. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's on my QRZ page, just in case, but you got it correct. I would greatly appreciate that.
Coming your way in 5BB.
Thank you so much. WT9V.
That is correct, sir.
Skynet. Well, 2 more minutes. This is KE5ICX. Ooh, it's 9 o'clock. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet? This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom. I'll be your net control for this session of the DRC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purposes are to help astronomers become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break. Do that enthusiastically, followed by your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? Please come now. This is a directed net, so please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of their transmissions. This weekly net operates on this frequency, which, if you hadn't guessed, is 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110 decibel minor. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to the club website, which is whiskey5friedchicken.org right now for a complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in all these parts. All right, there could be a test, so listen. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, space exploration, space history, what's up, this Carolyn's constellation of the week, or topic, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A in the 73 round. As you can imagine, with 12 sections, we may or may not get to all of them.
I will now take low-power short-time check-ins. If you'd like to join us, I will, and you cannot stick around or your battery is about to go dead. I'll take your check-ins first. Low-power short-time, please come now.
Kilo, Golf, 5, Alpha, Hotel, Juliet.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Alan, short time.
KF5 SEU.
Oh my, okay, let me see if I can get, I got 3, maybe 4 check-ins, actually 3 I got. Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Hotel Juliet. Can I get your name and location, please?
The name's Frank, and I am in Euless currently.
Okay, very good. KG5HJ, Frank over in Euless, short time, or low power, I'm not sure. Either way, I got you. N5WOI, William over in Allen, short time, I got you. And I've got Kilo Foxtrot 5, Foxtrot Tango Uniform. I think I got that one right. If I can get your name and location.
It's actually KF5 SEU, mobile, driving through Euless.
All right, I got KF5FEU over in Euless. Okay, let me go ahead and, let me go ahead and see. There may have been additional check-ins. Low power short time, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
India 5, Golf Delta Tango, Reginald out of Dallas.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, low power portable in Dallas.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert, mobile, portable, short time.
Okay, I got 3 additional check-ins. I'll need a fill on the first one. Kilo India 5, Golf, question mark, Tango, out of Dallas. Can I get your call again, please, and your name?
Kilo India 5, Golf Delta Tango, Reginald out of Dallas.
All right, excellent. I got your Reginald. Give me your call one more time. It dropped out, or my hearing is failing. Probably my hearing. Okay, Golf, question mark, Tango. Give it to me twice. I'm going to turn my audio up to 11. Go ahead.
Kilo India 5, Golf Delta Tango.
Time. Kilo India 5 Golf Delta Tango. Reginald, welcome. I think this is your first check-in. Welcome to the net. Next up, I got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, low power, and I got AA5AH. That's Robert. He's mobile, portable, short time. Who knows? He may be in the trunk of his car. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to general check-ins. Now, be nice to me. Do them slow and low so I can get you in. Phonetically, your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. General check-ins.
Whiskey, Tango, Niner, Victor, Michael, in Plano. Was that slow enough?
November 5. Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Echo India Uniform David, full moon in St. Paul, Texas. Kilo Golf 5 Papa Mike in Richardson.
This is Kilo Bravo 5 Uniform November Zulu Max in Fort Worth. Oh, Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima Bill, Farmers Branch.
This November 5. Alpha, Bravo, Alpha. Andre and Wiley.
Kilo India 5 Foxtrot Echo Tango Estefania, also in Wiley. Kilo 5 Kilo Tango X-Ray Kelly in Quinlan. This is Whiskey Bravo 5 Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5 Juliet Hotel Alpha Chaz Mesquite. I think that was slow enough.
All right, that's pretty healthy check-in. Let me get to all those folks. Michael, WT9 Victor in Plano, N5BB, Mr. Bill in Irving. I got KG5EIU, David. Over with the Farmer's Moon in St. Paul. Okay, KG5P, Mike over in Richardson. KB5 Uniform November Zulu Max. Welcome from Fort Worth. KF5ZBL, Mr. Bill, Farmers Branch, N5ABA, Andre and Wiley, KI5FET, Stephania, also in Wiley, Armchair, K5KTX, Miss Kelly in Quinlan, WB50ZL, Miss Brendan DeSoto, K5JHA, The Chaz over in Mesquite. Can I get additional check-ins? Please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Please do the call sign phonetically.
Kilo Golf 5 Zulu Mike Golf Joe in Arlington.
This evening, please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. We'll give you extra time because it's slow on Echolink. Please come now, Echolink only.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford.
Kilo Golf 5 Zulu Mike Golf Joe in Arlington.
Kilo India 5 Bravo November Papa Luis in Fort Worth.
All right, let me get those three. I've got KG5BZW, J near Weatherford, but not in Weatherford. KG5Z Mike Golf, that's Joe over in Arlington. Welcome, Joe. KI5B Bravo November Papa over in Fort Worth. Welcome back. Any additional check-ins over on Echo Link? There's maybe one. I don't know. Hang on, let me look. All right, I got y'all. So we're good. Anyone who would like to check in any mode, please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, I do know that the bands came alive today, so people are over on HF, but that doesn't mean you have to run away. It's okay. Let's go ahead and start with any general announcements. Anything you would like to bring tonight of ham, astronomical, space, or general interest to licensed hams? Please come with your call sign now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Okay, Tony, you're the guy. NT510, that's yours.
You know, that's kind of too much burden. I was hoping for a couple of other people to pop up. I only have one or two announcements. Please remember that the Dallas Amateur Radio Club is still looking for volunteers to help us life walk. This is a charity race walk event that happens on Sunday, October 6th. We get there at about 9 a.m. We're done in the mid-afternoon. They feed us lunch. It's a lot of fun. There's even beer. There's food. There's people. There's music. There's all sorts of goofy things going on. Great chance to learn more about public service. And if you look at either the TechNet or Skynet posts this evening, you'll find links to sign up for LifeWalk. We really would like your participation. We help make the event more successful and certainly safer. And of course, please remember that this is not the last set of the evening. I'm guilty. I didn't prepare for it. But we do have the Afterglow movie discussion coming up at 10:30 p.m. And it's a lot of fun. So please join in and have a great time. This is NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. And yeah, what is the Afterglow Movie Net? Let me tell you. Let's see here. Tonight's Afterglow Movie Net is as follows, and I do this very accurately. It is the future. The year is 2009, and a Lexington, Massachusetts elementary school current students open a 50-year-old time capsule. They immediately learn something about the students from 1959, and that is the class of 1959 were kind of stupid. Inside the capsule was a half-eaten ham sandwich, what was left of a cat named Fluffy, and a piece of paper documenting a plane crash dated for tomorrow. Oh, that's something interesting. Of course, it's listed with the worst airline in the history of airlines, Oceanic, well known for crashing before making it to their final destination, as the victim's airline of choice. So join us for the Afterglow Movie Net, knowing or not knowing, from 2009 tonight at 10:30 p.m. You can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to w5fc.org. You'll get all the information. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in doing LifeWalk, which is an uber cool, fun event, as Tony was mentioning, go to the website, w5fc.org, and sign up. This could be your first event. It may be something you've done before, but I'll tell you what, it's completely different from any other public service event you've ever done. So if you're interested or curious about it, Check it out. Find out about Life Walk. It's an easy event. It's a Sunday, by the way, rather than a Saturday. So keep that in mind. Come on by. Everybody who has ever signed up for this event always says it's a lot of fun, and I agree. Does anyone need any fills? Please come down with your call sign. All right, just to remind you that we also have on, let's see, the AMSAT net, which is an amateur satellite group, has 2 nets available in Dallas. Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. You can listen in over the AMSAT Echolink group, or you can go to amsatnet.com and click on the link on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. and they provide a live link talking about amateur satellite, NASA, and all that cool stuff. Dallas AMSAT net also is available on Wednesday nights. We have a local net for that at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, which is 147.140 megahertz. Also carries the same PL tone as this net, which is this repeater, which is 110.9er, with a positive offset. Dallas Amateur Radio Club has nets all throughout the week. Mondays we have alternating nets. We have the first week Ham Fixin's net. Second week is MCOM 101. Third week is Ham Fixin's net again. We have a second helping, of course. And the fourth week is GeekNet, where you can talk about anything and everything having to do with anything that we all love. Computers, you name it, we got it. Computers, communications, of course, crazy stuff, whatever you want to talk about. Also have usually a puzzle or question along the way. Saturday nights is the night of nets, which is everything you can imagine, starting with the ARRL National Traffic System Training Net, which begins at 6:30 p.m. 7 o'clock is TechNet. You missed it, or you were there, or not. We take about a 1-hour break. We come back and we do Skynet, which is what's going on right now. And then we follow that with the Afterglow Movie Net, which is, as I mentioned earlier, is Knowing from 2009. It's celebrating an anniversary, which is what that whole movie was about, by the way. Let's see, we have the Dallas Amateur, Dallas. Let me try again. I'm saying something and reading something completely different. The Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. We have anybody here would like to talk about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas? Please come now with your call sign.
So Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha.
Well, thank you, Chaz. KF5JHA, go ahead with your comments on Texas Astronomical Society. And that's yours.
Thank you so much, Tom. I was thinking that Kelly might get in there, and I beat her in, I think. Okay. So the Texas Astronomical Society has monthly meetings on the 4th Friday of each month. That would be January through October. And in November, it's the 3rd Friday, and December, there's some sort of holiday thing, usually. That's held at UTD campus. That would be UT Dallas on Campbell Road in the Science Learning Center in the main lecture hall on the 1st floor. Starts at 7:30, but there's usually some sort of activity going on at 7 o'clock before, like a new members overview or something like that. So come at 7, stay until it's over with. There's even a constellation of the month I know because I'm involved with that. But there's usually a featured speaker, a small business meeting, and then even talking about different things like astrophotography and much more. Okay, so the Astronomical Society also hosts observing sessions on Saturday nights, almost every Saturday night somewhere in the Metroplex. On the first Saturday of the month, the Stargazer Star Party in Spring Park in Garland is held. The next one will be October the 5th. Frisco Starfest is on the second Saturday of the month. That would be this evening. Is there anybody in Frisco that's either on Echolink or if you can get in by radio, RF, come now. If you can get in, come with your call sign. Let us know what's going on. These days, I'm going to have to go up to Frisco and report directly in from that site during one of the observing sessions. On the third Saturday of each month, Cedar Hill Starfest is held at J.W. Williams Park in Cedar Hill, and that will be on September 21st. That will be next weekend. And on the fourth Saturday, Stars on Rock in the Shores Park in Rockwall. That will be on Saturday, September the 28th. Now, there's also something else going on Saturday, September 28th. That would be in a state park on the other side of Fort Worth. It's called the Palo Pinto Mountain State Park Star Party. It happens twice a year, and this semi-annual event happens a couple Saturdays from now. So, if you want details for that, go to the TASS website, texasastro.org, and you can find out information on their calendar. You can find out information about the stargazing I'm talking about, and much more. Does anybody need a fill about the Texas Astronomical Society? Not so, Tom? KE5ICX, it's all yours. Thank you, KF5JHA.
Thank you, Chaz, and this is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet, our astronomy net, weekly net, every Saturday night. Next up on announcements, National Space Society events and activities. Bill, N5BB, what do you have for us this evening from the National Space Society of North Texas?
Oh, I wasn't ready. This is N5BB. Let me see if I can throw something here together. The National Space Society of North Texas had our last meeting this previous Sunday, September the 8th. So our next meeting will be on October the 13th, well into October. The meetings are always the second Sunday afternoon of each month, starting at 3:30 p.m. at the Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline in Irving. We usually do not have a meeting in December, but instead have a party. Similar to amateur radio groups I know of. Let me see, what is coming up? We have, there is a Dallas-Fort Worth Career Expo, which is going on October the 4th, and the National Space Society will be there. And I forgot to write down the location, even though I'm supposed to be there. But there will be an event on October the 4th. What else? The Ad Astra movie is coming out, and the release date, I believe, is around 2 weeks from today. exactly correct, but I believe it's close to Saturday the 28th of September. This is a movie about going into the solar system. And you've probably seen some of the trailers on TV. Ad Astra means to the stars, and it's actually the name also of the magazine for the National Space Society, Ad Astra. It's Latin for to the stars. What else do I have? That's the only short-term things. Sorry that I wasn't prepared in 5EB.
Thank you, Bill, and that's why it's called amateur radio, and that's perfectly okay. Yeah, Ad Astra is actually showing up next week. It opens on Friday, and then it will be in regular release after that. And for the Afterglow movie folks, or anybody who's interested, which is just about everybody here, we're going to have a field trip. I don't know if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. We'll figure it out. So if you want to stick around at 10:30 p.m., we'll tell you when. I think it's going to be a Saturday. So it'll be the 20th. Movie comes out on Friday. We'll probably be over at the theater at, and again, amateur radio, this is what it's all about, 35 and 635, the theater there, which I can't remember right now. So, it's okay, Bill. We're all getting old. And this is KE5I6, and net control for tonight's Skynet. Let's see, do we have any additional check-ins, and then we'll move on? Anyone who would like to join us, please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. My, nobody likes us tonight. That's okay. If you feel bad and can't get enough check-ins this evening, then you might want to consider helping and checking in to show your support for the net. Now there's a sigh. Hi. That's the sigh. I don't even know. How do you do a sigh on the radio? Okay. So tonight is discussion topic of the evening, which is always the net control gets to decide. And that is always a frantic choice. What do? Do you put something together that's really exciting, something that you're passionate about? Do you find an article that somehow or another has recently showed up in the news that's really interesting? What do? Well, I did the latter. I came up with an interstellar travel really possible from Paul Sutter. He's an astrophysicist at The Ohio State University. I know Chaz is very excited about that. Host of Ask a Spaceman and Space Radio, and author of Your Place in the Universe. I don't know, You Are Here, I guess. And he also is a regular contributor, of course, at space.com. So I read this article. It came up a couple of days ago, and I posted it over on the Facebook page for Skynet, or not Skynet, but no, it is Skynet. I'll figure it out, Skynet. But this is what he says, and I think it's rather interesting. He says, fantasy of every 5-year-old kid within us is interstellar space travel. Staple of science fiction serials, boldly going where nobody has gone before. I think I've heard that. In a really fantastic way. As we grow ever more advanced with our rockets and space probes, the question arises, could we ever hope to colonize the stars? Or barring the far-flung dream, can we at least send space probes to alien planets, letting them all know that we're here? The truth is that interstellar travel and exploration is technically possible. There's no laws of physics that outright forbid it, but that doesn't necessarily make it easy. And it certainly doesn't mean we'll achieve it in our lifetimes, let alone in a century. Interstellar space travel is a real pain in the neck. If you're sufficiently patient, then we've already achieved interstellar exploration status. We have several spacecraft on escape trajectories, meaning they're leaving the solar system and they're never coming back. The NASA Pioneer missions, the Voyager missions, and most recently the New Horizons have all started their long outward journeys. The Voyagers especially are now considered outside the solar system as defined as a region where the solar wind emanating from the sun gives way to general galactic background particles and dust. Oh great, we have interstellar space probes currently in operation, except the problem is that they're going nowhere really fast. Each one of these intrepid interstellar explorers is traveling at tens of thousands of miles per hour, which sounds pretty fast. They're not labeled in the direction of any particular star. They're not headed. Yeah, gotta get it right. They're not headed in any particular direction or particular star because their missions are designed to explore planets inside the solar system. But if any of these spacecraft were headed to our nearest neighbor, which would be Proxima Centauri, just barely 4 light years away, it would reach it in about 80,000 years, on a Saturday, no less. I don't know about you, but I don't think NASA budgets for those kinds of timelines. Also, by the time these probes reach anywhere halfway interesting, their nuclear batteries will be long dead and just be useless hunks of metal hurtling through the void, which is sort of a success if you think about it. It's not like our ancestors were able to accomplish such feats as tossing random junk between the stars, but probably also it's not exactly what you imagined interstellar space to be like. I don't know about you, but I don't think NASA budgets for those kinds of timelines. Also, by the time these probes reach anywhere halfway interesting, their nuclear batteries will be long dead and just as useless hunks of metal hurling through the void, which is a sort of success. Oh, well, we did this. Oh, it's there twice. All right, fine. So let's talk about the next section. Apparently they repeated the same thing twice. Perhaps one of the most promising ideas is to keep the energy source of the spacecraft fixed and somehow transport that energy to the spacecraft as it travels. One way to do this is with lasers. Radiation is a good transporting energy from one place to another, especially over the vast distances of space. Spacecraft can then capture this energy and propel itself forward. This is KE5ICX. This is the basic idea behind the breakthrough Starshot project, which aims to design a spacecraft capable of reaching the nearest stars in a matter of decades. In the simplest outline of this project, a giant laser on the order of 100 gigawatts shoots at an Earth-orbiting spacecraft. That spacecraft has a large solar sail that is incredibly reflective. The laser bounces off of that sail, giving momentum to the spacecraft. The thing is, a 100 gigawatt laser only has the force of a heavy backpack. You didn't read that incorrectly. If we were to shoot this laser at a spacecraft for about 10 minutes, in order to reach 1/10 the speed of light, the spacecraft can weigh no more than a gram. In case you're wondering, that's the mass of a paper clip. This is where the rubber meets the interstellar road when it comes to making spacecraft travel the required speeds. The laser itself at 100 gigawatts is more powerful than any laser we've ever designed by many orders of magnitude. To give you a sense of scale, 100 gigawatts is the entire capacity of every single nuclear power plant operating in the United States combined. And the spacecraft, which has to have a mass no more than a paperclip, must include a camera, computer, power source, circuitry, a shell, an antenna for communicating back home, and an entire light sail itself. The light sail must also be perfectly reflective. If it absorbs even a tiny fraction of an incoming laser radiation, it will convert that energy to heat instead of momentum. At 100 gigahertz, that means straight up melting, which means generally considered not good for spacecraft. Once accelerated to once accelerated to 1/10 the speed of light, the real journey begins. For 40 years, this little spacecraft will have to withstand the trials and travails of interstellar space. It will be impacted by dust grains at that enormous velocity. And while the dust is very tiny, at those speeds, motes can do incredible damage. Cosmic rays, which are high-energy particles emitted by everything from the sun to distant supernova, can mess with the delicate circuitry inside. The spacecraft will be bombarded by these cosmic rays nonstop as soon as the journey begins. Is breakthrough Starshot possible? In principle, yes. Like I said above, there's no law of physics that prevents any of this from becoming a reality, but that doesn't make it easy or even probable or even feasible using our current levels of technology or reasonable projections into the near future of our technology. Can we really make a spacecraft that small and light? Can we really make a laser that powerful? Can a mission like this actually survive the challenges of deep space? Well, the answer isn't yes or no. The real question is this: are we willing to spend enough money to find out if it's possible? It's always about the money, isn't it? And this is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet. Okay, let's see. Let me go ahead and see if there's additional check-ins, and I'll move to the next section, which is space exploration and space history. Anyone who want to join us who has not checked in so far, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
VT9 Victor. Someone said I should check in a second time because you seemed lonely.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy, and Sherman on Echolink.
All right, I've got Michael. I'm not going to count you twice. You can't do that except in elections. I got you down. And I got KFI PDS, Miss Billy over in Sherman. She's checked in. Okie dokie. Let's go ahead and go to space exploration and space history. Miss Kelly, K5KTX. You got something for us oh no, you got a lot of stuff for us this evening. So the net is yours from KE5ICX.
This is K5KTX. Its size and surface gravity are much larger than Earth's, and its radiation environment may be hostile, but a distant planet called K2-18b has captured the interest of scientists all over the world. For the first time, researchers have detected water vapor signatures in the atmosphere of a planet beyond our solar system that resides in the habitable zone, the region around a star in which liquid water could potentially pool on the surface of a rocky planet. Astronomers at the Center for Space Exochemistry Data at the University College London in the United Kingdom used data from NASA's Hubble Space Telescope to find water vapor in the atmosphere of K2-18b, an exoplanet around a small red dwarf star about 110 light years away in the constellation Leo. If confirmed by further studies, this will be the only exoplanet known to have both water in its atmosphere and temperatures that could sustain liquid water on a rocky surface. Liquid water would only be possible if the planet turns out to be terrestrial in nature rather than resembling a small version of Neptune. Given the high level of activity of its red dwarf star, K2-18b may be more hostile to life as we know it than Earth, as it is likely to be exposed to more high-energy radiation. The planet discovered by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope in 2015 also has a mass 8 times greater than Earth. That means the surface gravity on this planet would be significantly higher than our planet. The team used archived data from 2016 and 2017 captured by Hubble and developed open-source algorithms to analyze the host star's light filtered through K2-18b's atmosphere. The results revealed the molecular signature of water vapor and also suggest the presence of hydrogen and helium in the planet's atmosphere. And you can get some additional information, of course, at nasa.gov, and I'm sure that this will be a target exoplanet that will be studied by the James Webb when it gets launched in 2021. Now, in space history this week, on September the 8th, 1966, I know this was a big day for Tom, Star Trek aired its very first episode. Although Star Trek depicted a fantasy future Earth in which humans and other intelligent species freely explored the universe on Galaxy-class starships, in the real world, humanity was similarly taking its first steps to boldly go where no one had gone before. 4 days after the premiere of Star Trek's first episode, NASA's Gemini 11 launched astronauts Pete Conrad and Dick Gordon into Earth orbit. They reached the highest ever altitude for a human non-lunar mission, a record they still hold to this day. Star Trek's influence on NASA was far-reaching. In 1976, thanks to a letter-writing campaign by Star Trek fans, NASA named the first Space Shuttle Enterprise after the Star Trek starship led by Captain James T. Kirk. And hopefully, if Tom is showing the photo that I sent to him, this is an image of a scratch-built model of the Enterprise built by a longtime Texas Astronomical Society member, Jason Ware. On September 10th, 2011, at Cape Canaveral, the Gravity Recovery and Interior Laboratory Spacecraft, or GRAIL, was sent on its journey to the Moon. The twin spacecraft studied the gravitational field of the Moon for clues about its history of collisions with other space objects and for desirable landing sites for future missions. On September the 12th, 1962, President John F. Kennedy delivered his rousing "We Choose to Go to the Moon" speech to a crowd of 35,000 people at Rice University to reinforce the importance of the Apollo program as a national effort. At the time when the cost of the moon effort was becoming an issue, the soaring rhetoric of the president's 18-minute speech challenged Americans to embrace the effort as a test of what the country could do. President Kennedy said, "We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win." Also on September the 12th, 1992, the Space Shuttle Endeavour on STS-47 launched from Kennedy Space Center. On board the shuttle was the first married couple to fly in space together, Mark Lee and Jan Davis, the first Japanese astronaut to fly aboard the shuttle, Mamoru Mohori, and the first African-American woman to fly in space, Mae Jemison. On September the 13th, back in 1906, NASA engineer John Stack was born. Stack began his 40-year career at NACA's Langley Memorial Laboratory as a junior aeronautical engineer studying wind tunnels. He spent 11 years working at the Variable Density Tunnel and became recognized by the international aeronautical community as one of the leading specialists in the field of high-speed wind tunnels. In 1944, he became the chief of the new Langley Compressibility Research Division. Just 3 years later, he was promoted to the position of Assistant Chief of Research at Langley. Stack became the driving force behind one of NACA's most important projects, the Bell X-1. The X-1 was the first aircraft to exceed the speed of sound in level flight. This milestone was recognized in 1947 when Stack, along with Lawrence Bell and Chuck Yeager, was awarded the prestigious Collier Trophy. Stack went on to have a very influential career, winning the Collier Trophy again in 1951 for the conception and practical application of the slotted wall wind tunnel. On September the 13th in 1959, the Soviet spacecraft Luna 2 became the first human-made object to reach the surface of another heavenly body. Launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on September the 12th, the small probe flew 36 hours in a direct path to the lunar surface. The probe had no propulsion system of its own, so once the launch vehicle had released it, Luna 2 was on a ballistic trajectory to its target, the Moon, nearly 400,000 kilometers away. Luna 2 carried only a handful of scientific instruments, Geiger counters and magnetometers, and a series of transmitters to allow the Soviet Union to track the craft. The instruments reported that the no significant magnetic field, nor a radiation belt like that around Earth. Luna 2 released a cloud of sodium gas on the path to the Moon to assist with optical tracking of the flight. Luna 2 and the upper stage of its launch vehicle both impacted the lunar surface. They both carried small metallic spheres composed of pieces with Soviet emblems that were designed to disperse around the impact site. And finally, also on September the 13th in 1962, Neil Armstrong received a phone call from Deke Slayton, NASA's then Director of Flight Crew Operations, offering Armstrong a spot in the second ever group of American astronauts. At the time, Armstrong was serving as a NASA research pilot at the Flight Research Center in California, now named in his honor. 4 years later, Armstrong would command Gemini 8 for the first rendezvous and docking in Earth orbit. After successfully docking with the Agena target vehicle, the maneuvering thrusters malfunctioned, causing the still-joined craft to spin out of control. Fortunately, Armstrong was able to slow the spinning by firing the reentry thrusters, detach, and proceed to make an emergency landing 3 days ahead of schedule. 3 years after this flight, on his second space flight, Neil Armstrong would be the first human to set foot on the Moon. That's all I've got this evening. I will give it back to you, Tom. This is K5KTX.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. And this is KE5ICX, and net control for tonight's Skynet. Next up is, what do you think? What's up? Which has K5JHA. What do you have for us this evening from KE5ICX?
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics. I work at Brookhaven Community College, and we call this segment of Skynet Was Up. Remember that Skynet is not only available on the Dallas repeater 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9, but also available to hams across the world via Echolink. And most weeks, Skynet has a video component too. You can find those links at w5fc.org website. So with radio, Echolink, and video, I see that Skynet is in 3D. By the way, Tony in T5TM says that we are in 4D because we use the dimension of time. But what goes on in the chat window of Echolink and what's going on the video might have nothing to do with what's being talked about on the air. So to get the full 4D version of Skynet, you must be monitoring all three areas at the same time. see it last night? The full moon last night was also on Friday, September the 13th. The last time we had a full moon on Friday the 13th was Friday, October the 13th, 2000. And the next full moon is on Friday the 13th, and that won't be until August the 13th, 2049. So if you were superstitious, this could be a good thing or a bad thing. Let's talk about moons. Every 29 and a half days, we have a full moon. In other words, once a month. It really should be called a moonth, not a month. So we have a full moon about every month. On average, about every 2.5 years, we will have 2 full moons in the same calendar month. We call the second full moon in a month a blue moon. Some people like to call the fourth full moon in a quarter a blue moon. Let's get back to the regular once in a calendar month full moon. Each month's full moon has a traditional name. In January, it is the wolf moon. February is the snow moon. March is the worm moon. I'm not sure how to explain that one. April is the pink moon, probably because of pink flowers. May is the flower moon. This reminds me, since April showers bring May flowers, what do May flowers bring? Rooms, of course, unless it's the moving company and it might bring your furniture then. Okay, I digress. Let's continue. June is the strawberry moon. July is the buck moon. August is the sturgeon moon. September is the full corn moon or harvest moon. October is the hunter's or harvest moon. November is the beaver moon. December is the cold moon. There are other nicknames for each of these full moons. For example, in January, besides wolf moon, it can also be known as the after Yule moon. I think you can figure out old moon, ice moon, and snow moon. March full moon is not only known as the worm moon, but also the crow moon, the sap moon, the sugar moon, the chase moon, and the Lenten moon. The harvest moon is the full moon closest to the fall equinox, so that usually falls in September. About 1/3 of the years, though, the harvest moon falls in October, and so it's called the October full moon is the harvest moon. Harvest moon is the only full moon name that depends on something other than the month that it is in. The website www.timeanddate.com has more details on full moon names if you'd like to look that up. And I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. The waning gibbous moon will be the dominant object in the next few nights. The moon will be occulting the stars of the Hyades on September the 20th from midnight until dawn. The Hyades is the star cluster that makes up the face of Taurus the bull. The moon will be at its third quarter on September the 21st, and the moon will be new on September 28th. Jupiter and Saturn are easy telescopic targets in the evening sky. Jupiter in the constellation of Ophiuchus, which is the snake handler, and the 13th constellation of the zodiac. I guess we've got a lot of 13s in here tonight. Just to the lower right from Jupiter, you can find the bright star Antares. On September 28th is a meteor shower, the Sextans. It's named after the constellation that it's coming from, the Sextans. And it's a daytime meteor shower. Now, how do you observe a daytime meteor shower? It can only be observed by radio. If you want want to observe these daytime meteors using radio, then visit either the American Meteor Society webpage, amsmeteors.org, or the International Meteor Organization, IMO.net, to find out the details about how to do so. And if you do try observing these meteors using radio, please report back to us here on Skynet. I'm going to tell you every week about this event until it occurs, because it's a big deal. In a little less than 2 months from now, on Monday, November the 11th, 2019, Veterans Day, we will have the next transit of Mercury visible in North Texas. After this November 11th transit, the next transit of Mercury visible in North Texas won't occur until May 7th, 2049. Now, there are other transits of Mercury that will happen, but not visible from here in Texas. The Texas Astronomical Society and Brookhaven College are hosting observing of the November 11th transit of Mercury at Brookhaven campus. Also, TAS, Texas Astronomical Society, is planning on having telescopes for the UT Dallas campus as well. And once again, I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Forget that the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas has telescopes set up somewhere in the Metroplex almost every Saturday night. Again, check their website, texasastro.org, for details. Now, before I end, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions? I'm already laughing. Or need a fill? Or do you have any information you need about something I've talked about? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
5P.
Mike, I am so glad you did not let me down. I was laughing before you dialed in. Yes, Mike, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chaz. I do have a question for you. Here's the question. How does the solar system take its medication? How does the solar system take its medication?
Oh, I hope I don't have the answer, but I think it is. With a capsule?
Oh, it's venously.
With either answer. Thank you so much, Mike. The next 2 weeks, I will probably not be on Skynet. Next Saturday is the Plano Blue Festival. That's one excuse. But next Saturday evening, I still might be celebrating my oldest daughter, Danielle, and her betrothed, Jordan's Saturday morning wedding. So my oldest daughter's getting married Saturday morning. Then on Saturday, September the 28th, as long as the weather is good, I'll be at the the Palo Pinto Mountain State Park Star Party, just outside of Strawn, Texas, which is the home of Mary's Cafe, the state of Texas' best chicken fried steak. So I might try to get a surrogate to do my segments for the next couple of weeks. As the moon wanes during the last half of September, so do these words. Until next time, keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA. Back to Tom, KE5ICX, our net control. Thank you, Tom.
All right, thank you, Chaz. Thanks for the updates, and I've got asterisks around everything that you won't be here for the next 2 weeks. But thank you for being here this week and the weeks prior to. It's most appreciated and very interesting as always. Don't get lost out there. Okay, next up, let me see here. I've got to check in. I got Kilo Golf 5, India Whiskey Kilo Billy somewhere out in the internet land. I've got you checked in. Billy Epler, KG5IWK. He's checked in. Let's see. Next up, we have Mike. Mike. We have Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Month, and Mike also does Topic of the Week. So, Mike, you are next. I'll take check-ins after you. Go ahead, Mike. KG5P from KE5ICX.
All right, KE5ICX, KG5P in the group. Thank you, Tom. Well, tonight I have a topic, and this will be part one of the topic. Every once in a while I come across something in the news, in science news, it's quite interesting. And this has to do, this particular one has to do with Einstein's greatest blunder. Einstein's greatest blunder. Didn't think he made any, but he admitted he made one, and it's been resolved, and that's what's recent in the news anyway. So what I'd like to talk about first is Einstein's greatest blunder, and then next week we'll see what the resolution is to it. Okay, Einstein, of course, is the father of general relativity, which is a theory of gravity. General relativity improved on and replaced the long-standing Newtonian theory of gravity, which is still taught in physics classes, by the way. And like Newtonian gravity, you can use the equations of general relativity to predict how an object will move through space. Okay, I'm not going to get into those. They're not really my field, and I'd put you to sleep anyway. And furthermore, I'm not really the person to talk about his field equations. But needless to say, there are about 10 of them, and they're sort of distilled down to one fairly small differential equation. So, but we'll show you a little bit of what it looks like as we go on, especially if you're monitoring Tom's feed. Okay, in most cases, Einstein's general theory of relativity made the same, or almost the same predictions that the Newtonian theory did, but it gets things right, like Mercury's orbit, and the fact that light should be deflected, refracted as it passes by massive bodies, where Newtonian physics doesn't really explain that, or doesn't predict it. General relativity also behaves differently from Newtonian theory in circumstances in which gravity is very strong, such as near a neutron star or a black hole. Conceptually, Einstein's theory of general relativity is very different from the Newtonian picture of gravity. Instead of being a theory of an attractive force between bodies that have mass, general relativity is a theory of geometry. According to Einstein, the geometry of space and time is determined by the surrounding distribution of matter and energy. The phenomenon that we associate with gravity is really just the consequence of that geometry. And what I did was send a picture to Tom of Einstein's field equation, and you'll notice in there that there's one of the factors in there is a delta G sub mu nu, and that's his cosmological constant, which I'll explain in a minute. Okay, so to use Einstein's theory to make predictions such as the orbits of planets or the deflection of light, one has to find a solution to these general relativity's gravitational field equations. Conceptually, these equations relate two things. One is the distribution of mass and energy in space, and the other is the geometry in time. And from there it goes that from either one of these two things, you can at least in principle work out what the other has to be. About 1917, only a few solutions to the field equations had been identified. One was the famous Schwarzschild solution, which is the first exact solution to be found, but many solutions, both exact and approximate, have been found since. It was around this time, 1917, that Einstein began to think about a new and very different application for his theory. This is the geometry of the universe as a whole. So to tackle this problem, Einstein put as an input into his field equations a uniform or homogeneous distribution of matter filling all of space. In reality, the density of matter is higher in some places and lower than others, but it turns out that when you average them over large volumes of space, our universe is pretty close to homogeneous, making Einstein's approximation a good one. So using his field equations, Einstein worked out what the large-scale geometry of the universe should be. And even more interesting than the geometry itself was the fact that his equations did not predict a static answer. In other words, Einstein's theory seemed to say that the geometry of the universe should be changing with time. Now, we tend to imagine that space is a fixed background, and even more so back in Einstein's day. And that it's a fixed background of which things move through. But space really isn't like that, according to Einstein. The difference between any 2 points in space does not have to stay the same, but it can increase or decrease with time. This is what physicists mean when they say that space is expanding or contracting. So according to Einstein's equations, the universe could be evolving in one of two different ways. One is that the density of matter is high enough, and space should be steadily contracting, bringing all points in space closer to one another. On the other hand, if the density of matter is somewhat lower, space should be expanding. Now, when Einstein looked at these cosmological consequences, he didn't like what he saw. For some reason, he was deeply uncomfortable with the idea of an expanding or contracting universe. Instead, he had a strong philosophical prejudice that the universe should be eternal and unchanging. But he turned out to be wrong in this case. Okay, today the fact that the universe is expanding is not in dispute. At the time, however, the universe seemed to be static to astronomers. This helped to strengthen Einstein's belief that the universe was eternal and unchanging. So now we get into the cosmological constant. Okay, this is KG5P and this is Skynet. Okay, with this in mind, Einstein set out a way to make his theory consistent with a universe that was neither expanding nor contracting. To accomplish this, he added into his field equations an entirely new piece, a new term in the equation that contained what he called the cosmological constant. It was sort of a fudge factor that he put in there. Okay, this new term would act like a repulsive force, preventing the universe from contracting and collapsing on itself. This cosmological constant was entirely an ad hoc addition to Einstein's theory. And even Einstein acknowledged that it wasn't justified by anything he knew about gravity. But the inclusion of this term was allowed by the mathematics that seemed to make a static universe possible. And at this time, that was good enough for Einstein. So in 1917, he published a paper called The Cosmological Considerations, in which he described a universe that he argued followed by his theory of gravity. This came to be known as Einstein's world. Okay, but in the years following his 1917 paper, other scientists began to use his general relativity to ask the same cosmological questions. Regardless of how Einstein preferred the universe to be, these scientists were beginning to show that the theory of general relativity did not allow for the possibility of a static or unchanging universe. Einstein insisted that the expanding or contracting solutions weren't physically possible, but he was wrong. For one thing, Einstein's solution was unstable. If our universe was like the one Einstein envisioned, then sooner or later, the places in the universe with the most matter would start to slowly collapse, and those places with the least matter would start to expand. because our universe is not perfectly homogeneous, and it can't really be static. And the problem was they could not tell from the images seen by telescopes whether these particular objects that they called nebulae were very big and distant, located well beyond the boundaries of the Milky Way, or instead are much smaller and relatively nearby. So as technology and science knowledge progressed, astronomers were able to more accurately determine distances of things like nebulae and other deep sky objects using observations such as Cepheid variables, and it was Edwin Hubble that actually determined that. So within a few years, this debate had ended. The Milky Way is, in fact, one island of stars in a much larger universe. And so the discovery of Hubble's was amazing, but up to this point, nothing about Hubble's work told us whether the universe was expanding or contracting, or remained the same as Einstein would have preferred. So more work was done, and Hubble measured and calculated distances to more and more galaxies. But they needed to know how these galaxies were actually moving. They needed to determine if we were really expanding or contracting. So if the universe is contracting, Hubble's galaxies would all be moving toward us. On the other hand, if the universe is expanding, these galaxies would all be moving away or receding, being carried away by the stretching of space itself. And right now, modern estimates agree that there are more than 100 billion, which I think is 10 to the 22nd or something, 10 to the 12th maybe, galaxies in the observable universe. So over the decade or so, and the previous work done by Hubble, an American astronomer named Slipher had been measuring the velocities of galaxies. And he did this by the Doppler shift in frequency of light. So he observed that light from many galaxies appeared to be shifted toward lower frequencies of redshifted. And according to general relativity, this redshifting indicated these galaxies are moving away. And in 1929, Hubble and a colleague named Amundsen, they combined their distance managers with Slipher's velocity measurements on a collection of 46 different galaxies, and what they found was that one of the most important discoveries in the history of science, and that was that these galaxies are all moving away from us or receding. In fact, even more interesting was the fact that velocities are roughly proportional to their distance from us, and this, of course, we know now is Hubble's law. So Hubble himself wasn't sure how to interpret this strange result of galaxies moving from us, furthest ones moving at approximately 1,000 kilometers per second. But it turned out that that was the first evidence that the universe was expanding. And now they're saying that the space itself is becoming larger with time. So around 1930, this is 13 years after his original paper on cosmology, Einstein concluded that the universe, in fact, did not appear to be static, and he withdrew his ad hoc cosmological constant from his field equations. Now, he reluctantly conceded that the universe was expanding, but by insisting that the universe must be static, he missed the opportunity to predict one of the most important scientific discoveries of all times. And according to Einstein's friend and colleague George Gamow, Einstein called this the biggest blunder he made in his life. Now, if he really said that, I don't know, but that's what he's attributed to say. So, anyway, after the decades that followed the work of Einstein, Hubble, and others, the science of cosmology flourished. And over the course of the 20th century, the observations made cosmologists, they became to increasingly support what's now called the so-called Big Bang theory. And as the universe expands, space gets bigger and matter gets more diluted. This means that in the future, the density of the universe will be lower than it is today, and than it was in the past. It was higher than it is now. It also means the universe was hotter in the past. Okay, I'm going to stop here for this week. Next week, we will show how the cosmological constant was actually reintroduced and it does explain Einstein's field equations, and does explain what we believe is going on to this time. So I will turn it back to Ned. This is KG5P, and we'll see you next week, and we'll continue this.
All right, very good, Mike, and thanks for your report this evening. This is KE5ICX on net control for tonight's Skynet. Let's go ahead and move on to recent astronomical discoveries. That would be Miss Brenda, WV50ZL. What do you have for us this evening?
Thank you, Tom. This article is entitled, Newly Discovered Comet is Likely Interstellar Visitor. A newly discovered comet has excited the astronomical community this week because it appears to have originated from outside the solar system. The object, designated C/2019Q4 Borisov, was discovered on August 30th, 2019 by Gennady Borisov at the Margot Observatory in Crimea, maybe. The official confirmation that comet C2019Q4 is an interstellar comet has not yet been made, but if it is interstellar, it would be only the second such object detected. The first, maybe that's not right, it's OUMUA, was observed and confirmed in October 2017. The new comet, C2019Q4, is still inbound toward the Sun, but it will remain farther than the orbit of Mars and will approach no closer to Earth than about 190 million miles. After the initial detections of the comet, Scout System, which is located at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, automatically flagged the object as possibly being interstellar. David Fernocchia of NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies at JPL worked with astronomers and the European Space Agency's Near-Earth Object Coordination Center in Frascati, Italy, to obtain additional observations. He then worked with a NASA-sponsored Minor Planet Center in Cambridge, Massachusetts, to estimate the comet's precise trajectory and determine whether it originated within our solar system or came from elsewhere in the galaxy. The comet is currently 260 million miles from the Sun and will reach its closest point, or perihelion, on December 8, 2019, at a distance of about 190 million miles. The comet's current velocity is high, about 93,000 miles per hour, which is well above the typical velocities of objects orbiting the Sun at that distance, said Fernocchia. The high velocity indicates not only that the object likely originated from outside our solar system, but also that it will leave and head back to interstellar space. Currently on an inbound trajectory, it's headed toward the inner solar system and will enter it on October 26th from above at roughly a 40-degree angle relative to the ecliptic plane. That's the plane in which the Earth and planets orbit the Sun. C2019Q4 was established as being cometary due to its fuzzy appearance, which indicates the object has a central icy body that is producing a surrounding cloud of dust and particles as it approaches the Sun and heats up. Its location in the sky, as seen from Earth, places it near the Sun, an area of sky not usually scanned by the large ground-based asteroid surveys or NASA's asteroid hunting NEOWISE spacecraft. 2019 Q4 can be seen with professional telescopes for months to come. The object will peak in brightness in mid-December and continue to be observable with moderate-sized telescopes until April 2020, said Farnocchia. After that, it will only be observable with larger professional telescopes through October 2020. Observations completed by Karen Meach and her team at the University of Hawaii indicate the comet nucleus is somewhere between 1.2 and 10 miles in diameter. Astronomers will continue to collect observations to further characterize the comet's physical properties, size, rotation, etc., and also continue to better identify its trajectory. The Minor Planet Center is hosted by the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics and is a subnode of NASA's Planetary Data System Small Bodies node at the University of Maryland. JPL hosts the Center for Near-Earth Object Studies. All projects of NASA's Near-Earth Object Observations Program and elements of the agency's Planetary Defense Coordination Office within NASA's Science Mission Directorate. More information about asteroids and near-Earth objects can be found at, there's a bunch of URLs listed here. This is from ScienceDaily.com. You can go see the article there, or there's a link on the Skynet, so you can go there if you want to see all these URLs. All right, back to net. This is WB5OZL.
Thank you, Miss Brenda. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet. Do we have additional check-ins coming? You know you're out there. Go ahead.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, Philip from Crandall.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Sierra Kilo, Burl in Dallas.
All right, let me check those folks in. I've got K5KOB, Philip in Crandall. I got you checked in. K5TSK, Burl in Dallas. I got you checked in. Anyone else who would like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. All right, everybody's bashful. It's okay. Let's see. Next up is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. This comes from Heavens Above. I'll go ahead and give a couple of these. This comes from the, let's see, Heavens Above, and you can go ahead and put in your longitude and latitude information, and then go ahead and accept the cookies, because you know they got cookies, and then you can pull all the information in. So ISS has several visible passages coming up. We have September 15th, 16th, and 18th. These are good. The first one we've got is minus 3.6 magnitude, minus at 6:17 in. No, I gotta tell you, 5:32 a.m. 69 degrees altitude. Let's see. Oh, jeez, it's hard to do. Hang on a second. Complete
completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net. Alright, I'm out of practice. It's been about 6 months since I did this. 16th September, minus 3.6 magnitude, 5:32 a.m. It reaches highest point at 69 degrees, the International Space Station, which means it comes out of the shadows out of the east, reaches its highest point at 69 degrees at 5:32 a.m. and then falls at 5:35 at about 10 degrees out of the southeast. And then the second one I got here is, let's see, hold on here. All right, well, I was trying to find a second one, but there is favorable for the International Space Station when it comes to very low pass after that, 90 minutes later. I'm not going to do it because, well, simply it's not a very good pass, but in any case, I'll take final check-ins this evening. If you would like to join us, please come now with your call sign, phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting for the final round. Please come now.
Hello, Foxtrot. Quebec, Delta, Quebec. Eric in downtown Garland with my telescope.
Hooray! KF5QDQ, Eric over in Garland. With your telescope, tell us what happened this evening, in case we missed it. Go ahead, KF5QDQ from KE5ICX.
Well, I was just sitting on the square with my telescope, shooting the moon, Jupiter, and Saturn while enjoying a nice, tasty, cool beverage. And now I'm done, packed up, and heading back to the house, which is only a tenth of a mile away. So, hey, there we go. KF5QDQ, back to net.
All right, Eric. Well, I'm going to tell you something. You're always out in the field locations. We need you to do something on this net. Well, you always do stuff on this net, but you need to do something on this net talking about field telescope setup and all of that. You're going to have to explain it all to us. So at some point, think about that, because you're going to be one of those guys that's going to do that here on this net. No, you're going to be that guy that's going to do this on this net. All right, I want to thank everybody who checked in this evening. We had 26 check-ins. That's pretty darn good, especially when we had HF propagation this evening, and that doesn't happen all that often, especially right now. But I want to thank everybody who checked in this evening, and we hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. And hope we can discuss astronomy, space exploration, because on this net, sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DRC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact us by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can also follow topics and discussions about this net, astronomy in general, on Facebook and Twitter, as well as their audio and video feeds, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Till next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I will be closing this net at, 22:33 local time, and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody, enjoy the evening discovering the universe. We'll be back in 5 minutes to discuss what was that movie, Knowing, for the Afterglow movie net. And this is KE5ICX, and I'm clear. Alright, stand by everybody. We're going to do the Afterglow Movie Net here in about 1 minute. 1 minute. KE5I6. Okay, let's see here. Oh, let me do this. This is KE5I6. I think I was net control before. I'm going to be net control again. Tonight, we are going to talk about knowing. This is a 2009 science fiction thriller film. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Alright, hold on. There was a bio break. WB50ZL, I think, has net control this evening. I'm going to watch her very carefully. You know how she is. Miss Brenda, go ahead.
No, you don't know how I am. This is WB50ZL. Besides bio break, I had to go check on, see if this, never mind. It was about the laundry. It is my turn. You did it last week, and you'll be doing it next week because I'm going to be net control next week. So, I can do it unless you don't think I can. I certainly will turn it over to you. But I would like for you to give the synopsis of this fine film. Go ahead. KE5ICX.
Oh, absolutely. Knowing is a oh, by the way, this is KE5ICX. Knowing is a 2009 science fiction thriller film directed by somebody I can't pronounce and starring Nicolas Cage. The project was originally attached to a number of directors you don't need to know, but it was placed in turnaround and eventually picked up by Escape Artists. What a name. Production was financially filmed by some other people you don't know about who are out of business, using various locations to represent the film's Boston area setting. The film was released in March 20th of 2009. Yes, we have an anniversary here. What are we in? The year 2039. Yeah, so it's, 30th anniversary. The DVD and Blu-ray media were released on July 7, 2009. Knowing grossed $186.5 million in the worldwide box office, plus $27 million that was boosted into home video sales against a production budget of $50 million. Though every dollar of that was obvious. It met with mixed reviews, what a surprise, with praise from acting performances, visual style, and atmosphere, but criticism over some implausibilities. All right, I'm only going to read the first paragraph because this is really long and really kind of whatever. In 1959, Lexington, Massachusetts Elementary School celebrates its opening with a competition in which students draw what they believe will happen in the future. The works will be stored in a time capsule which will be opened in 50 years. All of the children create visual works except for Lucinda Embry, who is guided by whispering voices to fill both sides of her paper with a series of numbers with no apparent meaning. Before she can write the final numbers, the allotted time for the task expires and the teacher withdraws the students' drawings. The next day, as the time capsule is buried, the teacher finds Lucinda in a utility closet, engraving the remaining numbers into the door with her fingernails. In 2009, which is the future, by the way, the current class opens the time capsule and distributes the drawings inside among the students. Lucinda's sheet is given to Caleb Kostler, the 9-year-old son of a widowed MIT astrophysicist professor, John Koster. John examines Lucinda's sequence of numbers and realizes that it is a coded message that predicts with perfect precision the dates and death tolls of major catastrophes over the past 50 years. However, 3 of the reported events have yet to happen, and one of the dates corresponds to the following day. I will stop there and give it back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is WV5OZL. Okay, this is how it works. We're going to take check-ins, and then we'll go down the list, and you can tell us what you saw about the plot. We go around again, you can talk about characterization. After that, special effects, and then anything else you might want to talk about. So we're going to take short time and low power first. We would like your call sign, your name, your location, and whether or not you saw this fine film. Okay, please come now.
Mike and Richardson. I did see the movie.
Okay, we got KG5P Mike, who did see the movie. Let's go on with general check-ins. Please come down.
Number 5 Hotel, Yankee Papa, Tom and Irving.
Victor, Michael in Plano, and yes, I saw it.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-ray, Tom Louisville. Yes, I saw it.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November, James, Fort Worth. I saw the movie. Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford saw the film.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy Sherman. Yes, I saw the film.
Okay, we have N5HYP, Tom. You didn't mention whether you'd seen the movie. Could you let us know, Tom?
This is N5HYP. Yes, we saw the movie.
Okay, WT9V, Michael, yes. KE5ICX, Tom, yes. And the next one, I am so sorry, I butchered. Well, I just didn't write it down right. I think James was your name, and I missed the call. Please come back.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November, James Fort Worth. I saw the movie.
KG5PMN, James. Then KG5PZW, Jay, who saw the movie, and KF5PDS, Billy, who saw the movie. Do we have any other check-ins from Echolink? Any other check-ins from any mode, please come down. Alrighty then, let's go ahead and get started. KG5P, Mike, what did you think about the plot?
All right, thank you, Brenda. Yeah, I'm going to check out early tonight here. This movie started out okay, but I thought it was about, I don't know, at least 30 minutes too long. A lot of it was padded with a lot of fluff that really wasn't necessary for it to be there. At first I thought it started out as a Irwin Allen type disaster movie, but it didn't really have the suspense, and it was just far too talky. At the end of the movie, they had everybody rioting, and stealing TV sets. Yeah, I think that's probably the last thing I'm going to do on this earth is steal a TV set. You can watch Wheel of Fortune or maybe reruns of the Brady Bunch. It just wasn't very convincing. The kids, the children they had were not quite as annoying as the usual precocious, annoying kids they put in these movies. But I think it was probably one of Nicolas Cage's worst movies. But with that, I'm going to check out here. I don't think the movie's worth staying up for. So back to net, this KG5P.
Okay, N5HYP, Tom, go ahead.
Hey, Brenda and Annette, this is N5HYP. Holly, I and Anna sat down and watched it. Anna actually said she's watched it like 3 times over the number of years. Anna liked it. Holly and I, liked it. It was an okay ride. Yeah. Nicolas Cage basically always sounds like Nicolas Cage. He never sounds like anything else. But that's characters. We're talking about that later. Plot, well, it was interesting, of course. Spoilers for those who haven't watched it at the end.
you've got aliens, you've got Adam and Eve, you've got the rebirth of the human race because of aliens. You've got intrigue, getting to the end to get to that point. A lot of holes, but an interesting ride. Of course, Hollywood, they throw biblical references into this, but they'll never get it right. So, aside from that, it was okay. It was a fun ride. It was, a decent story with all the holes. This is N5HYP, back to net.
All right, KE5ICX, Tom, what did you think?
Wait, you forgot Whiskey Tango 9 Victor. Michael is next, and then after me. And after that is me. And I'll be great.
Well, he has deferred, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. My notes are wrong. Okay, on this film, the setup was very good. I thought it really did make for an interesting and intriguing story. You got the numerology thing going on. I thought that's going to be really great. Visually, it was interesting. The whole setup, the various sets look interesting. The house that was there worked. I'm trying to remember how this all works out because I can't remember the characters' names in the end. But Nicolas Cage's house, let's do that. We'll just use the actor's name. Was really great and created these wonderful little spaces, which really worked, I thought. And it was set up in such a way that you thought, okay, there's going to be this intellectual thing that's going to happen. And somehow or another, Cage's character is going to be able to figure it out. What ends up happening is he does partially figure it out. You go, okay, that's great. He's on the path. He's on the hunt. He's going to figure this stuff out. Much like what was it, National something, whatever the thing he was in with the thing, which I think that's where that comes from. But what happens is that he has the characterization, the whole thought process kind of falls a little flat. Now it falls majorly flat. You're trying to empathize with the characters, and it's really difficult to do so because neither character, neither the Cage character, nor I'm into the character part of it. Let me get back to the storyline here. Is that does this thing kind of like project a sense of urgency? I'm not so sure it does. All right, let me back up a little bit here because I got ahead of myself. Here's the thing. If you're going to have, the end of the world thing going to occur, everybody has to be on board with that. And that doesn't happen until the last 10 minutes of the film, and all of a sudden everybody is involved. And you've got Cage gliding through Boston and able to do things. We see a few people here and there showing that the end of the world is going to happen, but they're doing it in sort of a nonchalant, sort of way. The film does not live up to what it could be, and the urgency isn't there, and the characterization is somewhat aloof. I wanted to believe in this film, but it just didn't go there. All right, I'm going to stop now. I've probably got other comments because suddenly I've figured out that I didn't like this film. KE5 Ice Air.
All right. Next, KG5 PMN. James, go ahead.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November, James. I thought the film was okay. It had an interesting plot line to it. I've got a few issues coming up. I'll come up later on that I didn't care for, but I thought it was kind of like that one other operator said. It was probably 30, 45 minutes too long. It had some dark, dull spots in it, and but then interspersed with a few action scenes, and I guess I'd watch it again if I had to, but I don't know that I'd really want to. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
EZWJ, go ahead.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Okay, I don't know. There's just, I agree with whoever said the setup was kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. Of course, it's one of those things that I really, it's like I find the more you think about it, the more I'm not going to say it doesn't make sense. There's, maybe some places where there's just questions that you're left to ponder and all. But I'm more maybe on the technical aspect. It's really kind of annoying to me that, and again, maybe this is just because I've had to figure out what the heck something is from, like a file with a missing extension. It's like, well, what the hell is it? Well, okay, let's use the Unix command thing and stuff like that. Most of the time that works, but anyway, you still kind of wonder. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going off on weird tangent. It's like but it just didn't really explain some things. The essential need for the two of the characters to run off a list of numbers without the delimiters. It really just kind of, it's like, really, it's that important, but you don't space it. You don't add, the intermediate symbols that normally make that stuff make sense. It's the whole mystery of it is based on obfuscation. It's just, thinking about it that way, it's kind of like, ugh. And then there's actually, let me reset. And then there's, some silly plot points where it's like, oh, it's a terrorist, going to be a terrorist attack, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, I saw that as probably going to be something else. Like, you know, I don't know. It was such an obvious. It's like a sneak, a magician trying to sneak a rabbit into a hat, but it's clearly visible in the hat, just before you know, the hiding or whatever. So yeah, it had some major issues with its plot in terms of just how things flowed. I thought there were other aspects that are actually kind of interesting and good. I didn't think the acting was. I know that's characters again. Yeah, I think I'll save the other comments for later. This is KG5BGW.
Hey, Billy, KF5PDS. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Brenda. Yeah, I've seen this movie many times and recently watched it this week for our Afterglow. I like it, but I've often had some questions about things. I think they left the delimiters out to purposely perpetuate the mystery to see who could figure it out. Who is going to take the time to actually put, two and two together and figure out what these numbers meant, and that would make them more, candidates to, send their children on this journey off the face of the earth to save them. So maybe they left it out deliberately, just like the kids. They only accepted the individuals who heard their telepathic call. So I think they deliberately left that out for people to figure out, to see who could figure out what the numbers meant. Also wondered, was that the only list that was transmitted? We only see it from one family's perspective, but, what if all, those numbers were transmitted to many, many other individuals and we just didn't see it because we were looking at one specific point of view? And how was it interpreted, or was it ignored? And did some people not make it because they didn't take the time to suss out the mystery? So I've often wondered about that as I've watched this movie several times. Another thing I've often wondered about was the science at the end, because Professor Kessler took some measurements, a paper that he had written based on another star, solar flares, and he superimposed that other star over our own sun and showed its flares reaching Earth. And it's like, well, because its flares reached Earth, how does that mean that our sun's solar flares would reach that far and also do that kind of damage? I was reading, trying to do a little bit of research, and some folks were saying that there's no way that solar flares could do that kind of damage from our sun to our Earth. So I've often wondered about that, because that picture we look at the end is actually the other star he did his research on, shooting solar flares and covering the Earth. Also, I wondered, because he mentions a 100 microtesla burst of radiation, how dangerous is that? I also tried reading up to see if I could find that, and it said that's like the minimum fatal amount of radiation. But beyond that, I couldn't find anything. Didn't have time to really delve into the research. What does that mean, 100 microteslas? How dangerous is that? So those are just some things that I've often wondered as I've watched the film. But otherwise, I find it engaging, intriguing story, a mix of, mystical and religious. I find the mix of the numerology type approach with the scientific and intriguing mix. Also found interesting touching on the Ezekiel story with the wheels within wheels spaceship. At the end, I really loved that. I thought that was really cool to tie that in with extraterrestrials and very angelic-looking extraterrestrials at that. So kind of lends to the kind of the ancient alien theory of, was Ezekiel relaying an extraterrestrial account in his book in the Bible. So I thought it was an interesting mix of mystical and scientific, and predeterminism versus free will, with that kind of overarching membrane across the story to make you think about those things. So it kind of reminded me of M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. You know, are you the type of person that sees coincidence, or are you the type of person that sees signs? So I thought it kind of had that kind of overtone to it, which was intriguing. So on the whole, I really like the film and probably will watch it many more times. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5PDS, back to Matt.
Hey, next, WT9V, Michael, go ahead.
Thank you, Miss Brenda. This is WT9V. And I like commenting on Tom's comments, so I bribed Net Control to put me on after. He makes such good comments, and it inspires me, although I didn't really get a whole lot this time because, I don't know, my mind was elsewhere, and I'm not really sure where it went. Anyway, why does Hollywood always show people making or mashing ineffectually on people's chests? I mean, like that's going to help, you know, like Nicolas Cage, you know, sees the person get pulled out of the plane, falls down, and he immediately starts CPR wrongly, without even knowing what's going on. Why? It's not a thing that actually does any good and can actually be very harmful to people. And then the other thing about, I don't know, I started picking the Mew Mew part because, like, the coordinates that were listed on the page, latitude and longitude, 1 degree of latitude, or longitude rather, is about 69 miles. So 2 decimal places on it wouldn't even get you within a half mile of where what happened, much less a street corner. Okay, all right. Then in addressing the question on microteslas, I thought 100 microteslas, I mean, that's infinitesimal compared to any MRI machine. And then I looked it up. And apparently an electric razor or a hairdryer emits about 1,000 microteslas at a 3-centimeter distance. So I can't really see that, you know, 100 microteslas making any difference whatsoever. Like, I don't think we'd even notice it anywhere on the world. And then towards the end of the movie, I was saying, why do we have to have all these whiny crying scenes? They just kind of drive me nuts. Like, maybe it would be happening, maybe it wouldn't, I don't know. But, and in addition to all the other questions, which I thought were very good, why was Caleb picked to be one of the chosen? I mean, I can see the girl, you know, she was like the daughter of but why Caleb? Just kind of out of nowhere. And did the aliens make sure he got the piece of paper so his dad would... I'm lost. Questions. I have so many questions. No answers. 1790.
Hey, well, this is WB5OZL, and it's my turn. I did like this movie. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. It had a lot of good things going for it. The plot was not one of them. This is the worst plot in the world. Just everything in the world wrong with it. First of all, the premise. Why would the aliens, what is the purpose of dictating the numbers to this weird girl only for these things to be buried and maybe never see daylight again? She didn't know what they meant. You know, let's just write them down and put them in the vault. And you know, they weren't supposed to get put out to somebody who's going to figure it out. They were supposed to go back to the school where they go in a file cabinet somewhere. I don't know what the purpose of that was. Are they going to warn somebody? Why not actually tell somebody that, you know, like the astronomer, and come out in the open with it? And what was their plan? That maybe somebody would find the numbers and maybe they would figure out what they meant. So what? The world is still going to end? Why didn't they just come with their spaceships 2 days before the end of the world, nab the children, and make off with them? You know, I just don't understand. This whole movie built around these numbers for no reason, in my opinion. And if they had 50 years that they knew about this, first of all, I don't know how they knew, unless they had a time machine or they were, clairvoyant or something. How did they know that the sun was going to explode like that? That's kind of an unpredictable event. Now, how would they know this? So they glossed over that. And if they did have 50 years lead time, why didn't they come to the Earth people, lay on the White House lawn, and go talk to Eisenhower and say, look, you got 50 years, get your space program in gear, and get off the planet. You won't be sorry. And I think with their spaceships and their glowy bodies and everything, they'd have some credence there. Maybe they couldn't have saved everybody, but they could certainly have saved the human race. The humans that they took, technically, people do numbers on this. You need a certain number of people in the population to repopulate, or to survive. Anything less than that number is not survivable for a society. And they take prepubescent children. Why not take people that can actually have babies if they're going to repopulate? That part didn't make any sense to me either. And they had a whole spaceship and they took 2 kids. Couldn't they have taken a whole bunch of kids? And then they just dumped them in the wheat field and left them. Now, I raised kids. It's not going to be long before these kids are wanting something to eat and drink, and they're going to want their video games and their cell phones. They're going to be bored out of their mind right around the wheat field. And, why just take little kids? They don't know anything. They don't know how to build a house or make an X-ray machine or smelt metal or anything. All the things they need to build a society, they know nothing about unless the aliens are going to teach them, which, I don't know, they left. And there's that strange tree, so I get the impression they were going after the Garden of Eden with the tree and the Adam and Eve story, which I thought was a little bit lame, but that's just me. All right, I've talked enough. Let's take more check-ins. Please come down.
X5 LTC mobile.
X5 LTZ, your name please, and did you see this movie, and do you want to make comments?
This is Alexis. I did not watch this movie, but I was requested to check it.
Okay, well, just because you didn't see the movie does not mean you can't make comments. So we'll put you in the rotation, and when it comes back again, if you want to say something, then you can do so. All right, let's start over. We're going to talk now about characterization. And let's see, Mike checked out. So N5HYP, Tom, you're up next.
Hey Brenda, this is N5HYP. Several people have alluded to characters already, and I have also. I've never been a big fan of Nick Cage because he never is anything different than Nicolas Cage. The lady who was the mother of the daughter of the lady the girl who wrote wrote the original numbers 50 years before. She became really flighty. I kept thinking, boy, how, I guess they picked her because she could scream well. Somebody also alluded to the fact that the kids were all very quiet. The two kids involved were all basically pretty much fairly quiet. I would have expected a little more sass there. Again, plot-wise, and I will come back to this just simply because I agree with several people as well. It seemed that maybe a few people, this Nick Cage's character, the astrophysicist guy, had apparently written a paper related to the potential of a major solar event that could become an extinction event, but and apparently this was building up, but nobody put two and two together until right at the very end. So that just seems really odd that nobody put two and two together, that something obviously major was going on with the sun long before the events got to the end. I agree with Tom General that at the end everybody just seemed far too nonchalant. There was some panic earlier on, but at the end everybody was just kind of nonchalant, resigned to the fact. And unfortunately, I don't think humans and their survival instincts would act that way. I think you'd see a lot of panic up till the end. So, and that's sad to say, but that is unfortunate. Fallen in full human nature. Yes, it was an Adam and Eve event. I guess from a secularist or whatever point of view, it might be more akin to chariots of the gods type concept. That people will believe that aliens seeded us, and so aliens came and seeded us to someplace else. No, but that's what they used for the vehicle for the story. That's all I've got. I'm going to bed. Brenda, don't check me around the next time. I got to get up early in the morning. 73 to all from N5HYP.
Okay, well, thanks for being here, Tom. K5ICX, Tom, go ahead. Your thoughts on the characters?
Well, thank you, Miss Brenda. I hated the characters, and the Earth should have been destroyed because Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage and everything that he does. And the other characters were, they should have been blown up. I don't know. I didn't feel the characters were very complimentary to the film. I thought the film itself visually really worked, and I mentioned this earlier, but the characterizations didn't. And that's where the contrast kicks in. What are these people doing? Why do they care? And apparently they don't. Let me reset. And as I do that reset, I'm trying to figure out what the heck am I going to say next. Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage in everything that he does. It doesn't matter. He has this emotional connection through these visual things that he does with his kid. No, that's not a connection with your kid. The connection with your kid is that you, I don't know, hug the kid. You show interest in the kid. You show emotional engagement with the kid. That never happened. So, I don't know. I get that. That doesn't make any sense in the whole scheme of things. I don't know. His girlfriend and everything, he tries to hook up with and do all that. That part was superficial. This is where this film falls apart, I think, is that the emotional part really doesn't work at all. And so at the end, when we send them up in that do-do-do-do part at the end, it really doesn't work because I didn't see any of that emotional maelstrom working in the film. And that's what drives me nuts, I think, about the film. Just trying to figure out why I don't like it. I think that's it. The emotional part, the characterization doesn't work at all. KE5I6.
Okay then. Next up is KG5PMN. James, go ahead. Characters.
This KG5PMN. I didn't think much of the characters. Nicolas Cage was just kind of doing his usual thing, running back and forth, and liked him better Gone in 60 Seconds, but then, yeah, he just was kind of, I thought, kind of flat in this thing, and when he linked up with the woman, there just wasn't really much there for it, and the two kids, really didn't see that much in them either. I mean, the boy was just kind of there, and we'll let it go back to the net. KG5PMN.
KG5BZW. Jay, go ahead.
KG5BZW, am I still here?
BZW, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I literally hit, there's the transmit button and there's the end button. And I'm apparently tired because I just hit the end button. And I had to reconnect. Sorry about that. Oh boy. On that note, I'm almost still wondering if I'm really even, well, I'm going to try to avoid ranting about myself here. I'm going to say, I'm going to blame the, I thought the acting was decent, but I'm only saying that because I don't think the source material that they had to work with, I don't think, I think within the bounds of what the actors could do, and yes, I know Nicolas Cage was Nicolas Cage, but I don't know, maybe I like Nicolas Cage or something, I don't know. I didn't mind him, which was actually maybe one of the things that kind of surprised me about the film. That was not one of the things that I really disliked or anything. I just kind of thought overall that the characters were just kind of being played. There's unbelievable things requested of them by the storyline, and you know, I thought it wasn't really. They worked within what they could do, and I don't know. Um, I agree. The well, I don't know. It's what I'm just wondering what they really could have done because there were just I just see some of these things as plot issues and not character issues. The emotional connection, as like Tom mentioned, between um, uh, uh, Gage's character and the son. Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of places where maybe it did fall flat, but again, I don't know. I wasn't. To me, I didn't hate any of the characters, and that's why I'm saying that the acting was all right because normally I've seen films where it's like, uh, well, I think I'm rambling on too long, and besides, the characters was not the best part of the film for sure. So I want some time to go to the last section. So hey, to the next person, KG5BGW, back in that.
Um, Next up, Billy, KL5PDS. Go ahead.
Yeah, and listening to some of the comments, I have to wonder about some things. Did other people who heard the call, did they even get numbers? Maybe there were not the same list of numbers transmitted to all persons concerned. Maybe they got lists of numbers pertaining to disasters in their own country that they would interpret as meaningful. Or maybe they didn't get lists of numbers at all. Maybe this was the only list of numbers generated because Caleb's dad was a physicist who could interpret those, numbers and location. And obviously, if they did transmit numbers, they'd have to change the coordinates for everyone else at the end to send them to the correct spaceship. So we're assuming everybody got the same set of numbers, but maybe they didn't, or maybe they didn't even get a set of numbers. Maybe they got some other visual interpretation that they would find meaningful. And also, this is a limited point of view for the story, so we're only seeing it through one set of characters. I'm sure there were other people on board those spaceships. We just saw them picking up the last two before they left from that location. And Caleb even mentions that they're only taking those who heard the call. Doesn't necessarily mean it's all kids. So I imagine they might have cast a wide net and got an eclectic bunch of people to take. Kids, obviously they're taking animals because they had a pair of rabbits. But I would just listen to some of the comments, and I had to wonder some of those things. Characterization, not the best. Nicolas Cage is good in films for what he does. I think he's all right. It's kind of like Keanu Reeves, doesn't have a wide range, but for what he does in his movies, it serves. I'm not a huge Nick Cage fan, but I did like National Treasure, and especially liked National Treasure Book of Secrets. I thought that was really interesting. Again, mixture of some science and some mysticism and some conspiracy theory. So Nick Cage does, I think well in the films that he does. So Nick Cage does Nick Cage very well. The kids acting I thought were extremely wooden and sedate. I felt the same way, that these kids were just way too sedate. The young man, I'm not sure how much acting experience they have, but the young kid who played Caleb, I thought was just some of the most wooden acting I've ever seen. But maybe that's what they wanted. So if that's what they wanted, then mission accomplished. He did what he was supposed to do. And the woman, she was so hysterical at the end. There are several times that I've watched the movie that I've just fast-forwarded through her screaming because it does get annoying. I don't like how she just all of a sudden deteriorates into this babbling, incoherent person that just runs off in some other person's vehicle. You know, she just hysterically screams, and I often thought, you know, at the end, the aliens just finally, they have had enough. You know, they're trying to direct these people to the ship, but they're just doing it all wrong, and so they finally just come in the end and say, you know what, we're just gonna take the kids. You know, we're just gonna commandeer the vehicle and get them there because you people don't seem capable of following simple instructions, a simple list of numbers, and so we're just gonna swoop in and we're just gonna drive them there. So I often found that kind of humorous. And without expressing a word, aliens do some of the better acting in the film. But yeah, it's not emotionally investing at all. By the end of the film, I found it intriguing with the whole Ezekiel spaceship. Again, I thought that visual was visually stunning, so special effects get more of a props to acting. And then, you know, seeing them leave, yeah, I did kind of feel like the Adam and Eve thing at the end was stretching it a little too far, but interesting ending altogether. But yeah, the characterizations to me just fell flat. At the end of the film, when the Earth is being destroyed, I felt nothing, no emotional investment at all. So Deep Impact was a movie that impacted me more. At the end, I was like ugly crying when the Earth was being, you know, the waves were coming and people were being destroyed. I was more emotionally invested in those characters because they led you on this journey through their lives. Here, we didn't see much of a journey. We got about 24 hours of these people's lives, and so we didn't really have time or see any kind of journey hardly to invest. So I think that's a victim of bad writing, not necessarily the characterization's fault. It's just if we had been led through people's lives more like in Deep Impact, where we're led through like a year and a half of their life leading up to the disaster, there would have been more, you know, there's more time to, you know, characters become endearing to you, and you go on this journey with them. But here, we're just plopped down like the day before this disaster happens, so we don't even get enough time to don't even scratch the surface on knowing these characters, so we really don't know them at all in order to invest in them, to feel their, you know, anything. And it's like, do they feel anything? They again, at the end, just kind of come together, and then they're gone. So we see no emotional investment from them, so in turn we can't emotionally invest and connect with them. So I think that could be the fault of bad writing again. So anyway, those are my observations on characterization, so I'll throw it back to you. This is KF5PDS, back to Nick.
Thank you. WT9V, Michael, you're up.
WT9V. And thank you, Miss Billy, because you said that so much better than I could, and I see what you did about knowing the characters. Well done. I didn't like it. I didn't really like any of the characters. I mean, you know, if you want a mopey, antisocial loner, cast Nick Cage, that's pretty much what he does. And yeah, the kids were wooden people. I don't know. Pretty much anything I say right now would probably just be what has been already said, and I was not very impressed. I mean, I thought the basic premise of the movie was pretty nice and pretty interesting, but I just don't think it was done very well. So with that, I'm going to toss it back to Miss Brenda. Get ready, grab the mic, WT9V.
Okay, it's my turn, isn't it? I'm not as down on the characters as the rest of you are. I thought they were just okay. Nick Cage is okay. I like him in movies just fine. The rest of the characters I thought were kind of cardboard, wooden, or maybe non-dimensional. They just don't really stand out to me as characters that are going to be memorable. So I don't know. I don't have a real problem with characters. I don't have a real strong feeling either way, actually. So we'll, I don't know. All right, I don't have much else to say about that. So I'm going to turn it back, and we're going to talk about special effects. So let's go back to KE5ICX.
Okay, Miss Brenda. Well, I thought the special effects were very good. This is the first attempt to do some digital rotoscoping stuff that they did, and I thought that worked really well, especially when you're doing it from a distance. One of the things I thought was really bad, actually, was the fire moments when the Pilgrim Air crashed. There was a layering of generic fire that they did, which drove me nuts. I could see it. But this was 2009. That was, 50 years ago? So in the process, you're looking at it and going, well, this could have been done better. In the process, you go, yeah, okay. Other parts of it, at the very end of the film, when the solar flare thing came about, that actually looked really good, and it worked. And then the after effect, which is this calming, indifferent thing with the solar flare, worked really well, I thought, which was sad and depressing, which this whole movie was sad and depressing. So those are my comments on that one. Overall, I thought the special effects were either fair to really good to back to fair. KE5I6.
Okay, KG5PMN, James. Special effects, go ahead.
This is KG5PMN. The special effects, well, I thought the aircraft crashed when it came in, wing down, and started coming in across the cars. That looked pretty good, but they kind of they blew my respect for the movie basically after he started running over there and people come running out on fire. Watched too many air disasters on the Smithsonian Channel, and I just don't think an airplane crash like that coming down that hard on one wing would have left any survivors to begin with, so I didn't buy the survivor bit. Train crash, I didn't research the train crash, but it looked like they spent way too much time sliding that train along the tracks. If something had come off, if it derailed, it would have probably stopped within 50, 60 feet or something like that. It wouldn't have gone on nearly as long as it did. And the other special effects were just kind of there. KG5PMN, back to the net.
Okay, KG5BZWJ, go ahead.
Yeah, this is KG5BZW. Yeah, the special effects, I actually forgot about some of the effects that were actually kind of, kind of bad. But because I actually I was really kind of impressed. I'm going to call it the Close Encounters of the Third Kind redo kind of effect at the end. Was actually, I love that spaceship. I love the spaceship with the abstract kind of shape that came down, and the aliens. I love the design of the aliens, the abstract, I'm calling everything abstract here. The angelic, but not quite angelic, but yeah, no, it definitely the hint was there. That was pretty cool. So, okay, I'm gonna. I think there's other aspects of it were kind of cool at the end, just in terms of special effects. The fire again, yeah, the fire and the there were aspects of the of both crashes. I can remember what was in the film. There was they tried to layer um, uh, computer effects on practical effects, and it just did not work that well. Um, the subway crash was just there's a certain amount of silliness to that, and I kind of hate to say silliness when it's practically, it's a bunch of it's I don't know. There's I don't. Uh, there's a term I feel like I should use, but I hate to even bring up what I would probably the terms I would probably use because it almost seems like that might be something FCC might frown upon. But just well, let's just call it gore for gore's sake and leave it at that. That's kind of what I thought of the subway. And it wasn't even that good of gore. I mean, it just kind of like I don't know, funny. I'll just stop there. So like, their practical effects I thought were pretty decent. They were practical. In fact, I don't know that there's any practical effects. I'm not sure that the obviously the crashing scene. Yeah, if yeah, that's not so much as the effects, but the physics. No, I could get on. I feel like I could go on ranting about some minor thing that really isn't relevant. So to summarize, just run the gamut. Just there was some horrible stuff and there was some pretty cool stuff. KG5BZW.
Okay, KF5PDS, Billy.
Yeah, I felt the same way about the plane crash. I thought it was really wild watching it come down and crash, but then I thought, yeah, having survivors, I didn't buy into that. And the train wreck seemed a little too Hollywood action film, just to I guess give people some action in a largely intellectually, mostly speaking film. Throw some action in there for folks that enjoy action, to get that demographic covered. But yeah, to me it just seemed a little too Hollywood. But the effects I really loved again at the very end with that probably the best, most creative interpretation of the Ezekiel story that I've ever seen on film, with the wheel inside the wheel type ship to interpret that. Because reading the book in the Bible, that's how Ezekiel describes it, is wheels within wheels. And I've always interpreted that like a gyroscope type of motion, and they captured that very well with the descending craft that came out of the main ship to come down to Earth to transport them back up to the main ship, and the aliens transforming into their true form, which did look very, could be interpreted as angelic by someone from a non-technology background, and not interpreted as extraterrestrial. So yeah, there was the kind of the chariots of the gods type point of view. But I thought that was very well done. That was, to me, it was the most visually striking part of the end of the film, when the aliens transform and then ascend up into the ship with the children. I thought that was visually stunning. And I did also, with Jay, on watching the spacecraft leave the planet as they fold up and prepare to leave Earth orbit. I thought that was very cool and homage to Douglas Trumbull with the Close Encounters. And then at the very end, of course, the kids are in an obviously CG wheat field, but I think it was mostly to make it seem like not fake, but an alien landscape. And then watching the ships again take off in the distance, perhaps they're going off to other worlds to save others to bring them there. And I don't think they're just leaving the kids to their own devices. They probably have, alien civilization on that planet there to help them, and maybe that was just the special task force leaving to go elsewhere to save more beings and bring them to their worlds. So on the end to me was visually stunning, and that was the best part of the special effects that I liked. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5PDS. Back to me.
Next up, WT9V Michael.
Okay. I thought that thoughts. I should have gathered them first. The visuals were very nice. Like how much better could they have done all the burning animals, which I thought were pretty horrific and unnecessary. But yeah, the physics, they didn't seem to have any idea of physics whatsoever, because the way things happened from the crash of the airplane to that mess in the subway, which would not have gone on the way it did. I've seen the aftermath of subway crashes and derailments and stuff, and it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way at all. And the splatting of the people that the train was running over, there was a lot of stuff that, besides being technically infeasible and physically infeasible, was just unnecessary as far as that goes. But I mean, a lot of it looked very good. The spaceships were nice. I was like, why are there so many spaceships when it seems like this is all just one little thing? But that's more of those questions that I don't have answers to that kind of annoyed me about this film. And I think I'm just going to wrap it up here. Something I said last night while I was watching the movie with some friends. I watched this once and forgot it. Now I'm going to have to forget it again. Back to you, Net Control, WD9V.
Okay, and after you forget it, you can watch it again, and you won't remember it. So it's a never-ending cycle. Well, I agree. Way too much gratuitous violence. You think they were really, the point of this was let's just show a bunch of crashes and people dying and burning animals and things getting run over. It's just going to be really exciting. And I just didn't think it added to the story. Why did he feel like he needed to go and watch the disasters? He could stop it, and it's just disturbing. Spaceships were definitely the best thing about special effects, no question. And aside from that, I don't know. The aliens are pretty cool. The glowy aliens, I like that. Okay, do we have any more check-ins? Okay, we're going to do a final call. If you have any comments about anything, please come now. Wow, that's a first. Okay, moving on. We want to know what next week's fine film is. KE5ICX, do you have any information?
Well, thank you, Miss Brenda. Yes, I do. Ad Astra 2019. Yes, it comes out Friday. This Friday. Field trip is in order. Please go to Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words. Afterglow Movie. Afterglow is 1 word, and movie is the 2nd word. For additional information, if we've done in the past field trips. This is one of them. Go see this film. It got good reviews. We'll discuss it with spoilers next week. So hang with us. We'll figure this whole thing out. KE5I6.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for participating. This is WB5OZL Clear.
Sleep, Tom, you're dead. WT9V.